Hi, welcome back to the allotment. I'm here today to get some big jobs done. The kids have gone back to school. It is Wednesday the 4th of September and I have given myself a few hours here to get some stuff done. The first thing I'm going to do is start to tackle the beds that had the garlic in. The small beds at the back. We've got two of them that are completely empty other than bindweed and a few other weeds, and I'm going to start emptying and weeding that area. And then I'm going to see just how easily those beds come apart and see if I can rip those apart now. I want to start prepping that area for the new beds that I've bought, the new raised beds. They are metal ones, like the ones that we did in front of the shed at the beginning of the year. They're from a different place, those were from B&Q. These ones are from rinkit.com, which I'd never heard of before, and actually they looked too good to be true. I had to go looking online to check it was a real company and see the reviews, and everybody seems to like it. So I've ordered them. I've ordered 4 of them, and they are slightly different dimensions to the other ones. They're bigger and lower, so I don't know how many are going to fit in that space, but I've ordered 4, which might be pushing it a little bit. But I'm going to be building those in the next few days. You won't see that on this video, but you will see it soon. What I need to do in this video today is start preparing that area, start ripping it apart, and I want to get the reed membrane up between the beds as well, but I think I might have to take the beds out before I can do that. There's a lot of stuff going on in there, so instead of talking about it, let's just go do it, eh? It's beautiful, isn't it? No. So yeah, this is the area. So if we look, you can see that the beds are coming apart and the wood is rotten underneath. It looks all right at the top, but when you get and down that end especially, when you look at the bottom, some of it is quite rotten. Obviously a lot of bindweed in here, and then we've got these gravel paths here which have been great, but obviously are not keeping the weeds down. And under here is weed membrane, so I want to get that up. Now this bed has got some runner beans in, so obviously I don't want to take this bed apart just yet. Although I might take this bed apart. I don't need to keep the bed in place. I just don't want to remove the beans while they're still producing. And I think that there's enough work to go along with on the plot without me taking things down prematurely. So I'm going to start getting some of these weeds out first. I need to cut that rose back a bit because it's it's encroaching on this area because it's not tied in very well. So we'll get that done, and we'll see how it looks when I've done. Right then, so I haven't finished obviously. What I've been doing is just ripping out the weeds, Lindsay style. Not thoroughly at this stage, because what I wanted to do was just see what we're working with and get those sides of the beds up. The first bed has come up really easily, as you see, as you have seen. But the other bed's a bit more sturdy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get the gravel up from the paths in between, and then move that somewhere, because I don't want that getting mixed in with the soil and the compost. We'll do that, and then, sorry, I just saw something move on my courgette patch. There's all sorts going on here. We've got strange wasps flying around in here. Like, I'll try and insert a video if I can, but it's been really difficult to get them. They're beautiful, really. They're very bright yellow with black bottoms. I've had to Google them to see that they are actually wasps. There's quite a few flying around in here. I wonder if there's a nest nearby. Hope it's not in here. Anyway, so I'm going to go back over and I'm going to start trying to get the gravel up, and then we can think about ripping the paths up completely, get the membrane out of there, which is something I'm really looking forward to doing. And then the whole area needs digging over and thoroughly weeding and getting all those roots out. There's a lot of creeping buttercup and bindweed in there. The bindweed I don't mind as much as the creeping buttercup. Bindweed annoys me, it annoys everybody, but it's easier to get up, I find, than the creeping buttercup. That really clamps down into the soil and is a pain. I mean, the bindweed is hard to eradicate, but you just keep pulling it, and I don't mind it too much. But yeah, and I've just scattered a load of rosebay willow herb seeds all over the garden, so we'll have lots of those next year, which will be lovely. Lovely. Let's go shift some gravel. Annoyingly, I just ripped up these sides and the camera wasn't recording. But it wasn't as impressive as I'd like to think, because it did come up really easily, because as you can see the timbers are really rotten. So yeah, these beds definitely needed to be removed. So this is the weed membrane, and this is what's happened. You can see how the roots get through it eventually, and it makes it hard to get up weeds like bindweed and creeping buttercup. Any weed really that can regrow from root fragments. So unfortunately it's breaking up. So now I'll try and get every bit I can out of there. And it's not going to pull up like a nice carpet and just leave me a nice pile of stones. It's quite deep underneath the gravel, so there's quite a lot of gravel even though it's a small space. So yes, quite a bit to do. So I'm going to throw that in the wheelbarrow with the gravel, which is there, and then I'll separate out the plastics once I've done. So here we go, there's some weed membrane. Now this stuff does work. You know, this has been down a good few years now, and it has been an effective barrier to stop weeds getting up. But one thing I would recommend is, if you do use this, make sure you keep that area well weeded. And that sounds ridiculous because you're suppressing weeds, but weed seeds are going to fall on top of it. Whatever you put on top, whether it's wood chip, gravel, paving, weeds are still going to grow in whatever is on top of that weed membrane. And if you get to those weed seeds early before they can put down their root system, then do, because over time this is what you're going to get. It's not a permanent solution. It's a long-term solution sometimes, but it's not permanent. And this is, if you're going to have the piece of land that you're gardening long-term, this is something you're going to have to deal with one day if you put it down. So my advice would be to look for more environmentally friendly options. And be careful when you are looking as well, because there are some weed membranes that are touted as being environmentally friendly because they biodegrade. They can sometimes still be plastic, and what they do essentially is they degrade into microplastics, and we should know by now that we don't want that in our soil. So yeah, this is coming up and we won't be using any more. I don't know what this is actually. It's very fibrous. It's not that stuff that's like plasticky that looks like cassette ribbons everywhere. This may be a more environmentally friendly one, but I'm not sure. Let's get rid of it. Look at this. I probably would have had a decent bulb of garlic there. Look at that. And it's dead now in the slugs. But man, my garlic did work after all. Some of it at least. Ah well, never mind. So, the raised beds are no more. They came up really easily, as you can see. I just haven't got the corner posts out on all of them. So I've done a little bit of a sweep. And yeah, that's how I sweep, to a pile and then leave it. And I've not got the corner posts out, so I'm going to need a big hammer to bash those out, I think. I've tried digging them. Still got a bit of weed membrane kicking about. Haven't got it all out yet. Haven't got all the gravel I want to get up, but I could barely move the wheelbarrow with the gravel in. Got a couple of wheelbarrows full of weeds up, and I did end up taking all the, well, mostly taking up all of the beds. So I'm going to be back tomorrow, and I'm going to continue to get the weeds out, get a bit more gravel up. It doesn't matter if I leave a bit, because it's going to be on the ground anyway, and the beds that I'm putting in are a foot deep, so it'll be good for drainage, but I don't want too much. So yeah, that's what I've done today. I'm worn out now, so it's time now to do the really hard work and go pick up my children from school. Be back tomorrow. See you soon. Ooh, look at this. Ow, spiky. We've got a male and a female flower flowering together. We've got the same over there as well. A male flower flowering and a female about to open. These are the mashed potato squash, so cross your fingers. Also, we've got some flowers coming there on the sweet potato vine. So, sweet potato squash vine, not a sweet potato vine. So hopefully we'll get some of these as well, even though it's September. I think this is going to be changing colour soon. Good morning, it's 10:30, it's the next day, I'm raring to go. It's rained quite a lot this morning and through the night, so it's very soggy outside. So I've brought one of my little raised beds that I've bought with me to build up here. I can't build it up at home and fit it in the car, so I'm going to build them up here and I'm going to see how it looks. I've also brought a tape measure to measure the beds, because as much as I know the dimensions of this, I'm trying to sort of imagine how many I'm going to fit in the space, and unless I measure the area, I don't know. Now, unfortunately, the best tape measure I could find was in my sewing kit. No, I can't sew either. And it's only 150 centimetres long. So how accurate the measurements are going to be, I'm not sure. But if I measure the beds, and I'll measure the paths, and then I'll just add it together. And do that now before we get started, and I'll let you know what size the area is. So it is 4.3 meters by 2.37 meters, which might work well actually. 4.3, 9, 18, 27, 36. No, because if I laid them out, that would mean the paths between them would have to measure 70 centimetres between the three of them, which is not the wider path I'm looking for, is it? But it does mean I could probably use 3 of them. I've opened one of these boxes at home, but I've brought this one that wasn't open. I just wanted to check what tools I was going to need. Let me move that so we can lay it flat. So this is how it comes. Now, I just want to say, I got this from ringkit.com. As I said yesterday, I had to do my research to check it was a legitimate company, because these raised beds are usually quite expensive. And these were reasonably cheap. So I was a bit suspicious, you know. Now, this isn't in no way sponsored or affiliated with Ringkit. I bought these with my own money. It's not paid content or anything like that. Just a little disclaimer there. I really like the colour. So it's this sage green colour. I don't know if that's coming up. It looks a bit grey on the screen, but it is green. So yeah, that looks nice. We'll just move those. And what I discovered with the other box that I opened is it comes with this. I basically opened the box to see what I was going to need, and it comes with a little spanner, a little screwdriver. I was a little overwhelmed by the sheer quantity of nuts and bolts that it needs. There's some wing nuts in there, so it looks like I'm going to be able to hand tighten these. Now it does also come with some little metal rods. You can see inside there, they're strapped into there to give it support. I don't know if it's going to be as strong as the other one, and actually I'm really pleasantly surprised, because one thing that this differs with the other one, and I'll take you over to show you actually. Let's go over and I'll show you what I mean. So you can see that these beds came with this rubber edging strip. And I was a little concerned actually that these new ones wouldn't, but they're really not sharp. I believe from memory that this one was quite... Let's have a feel. Yeah, well, it's not too bad actually, but it, you know, if you did fall on the edge of these, I mean, it's going to hurt you with the rubber on, but it's not going to hurt you as much. Whereas this one doesn't, but you can buy that strip. I've seen it on Amazon. So I will buy some just to put around the edge to show what it's like. Yeah. They don't actually feel too... It doesn't feel too thin. It does say warning, sharp edges, but so far I haven't discovered one. And trust me, if there's a sharp edge, I generally will discover it. Right, let's have a go. See how we get on. I have to say, the instructions look pretty simple. They actually look pretty good, as instructions go. So it looks like I have to make the rods up first, and then start just piece by piece constructing it until we put the rods in. Wish me luck. Okay, there you go. I haven't finished it yet. I've only put the top and bottom bolts in each panel. I'm going to put the support rods in now, and then I'm going to put all the other bolts in and tighten it all up. I'm not filming myself building it because this is a gardening channel, not a comedy channel. And I'm trying to preserve my phone battery as well, so because I would like to show you the however we get finished today and whatever happens. So yeah, I like it though. It's big. Supports are in. So far so good. I'm going to put the rest of the bolts in now, and then we are going to I'm going to tighten them all up with this new screwdriver I now have. Actually, I've got 4 of them because one comes in every pack, so I should hopefully never be without one again. What I'm doing now is just carrying on with this. I've got most of the membrane up. I'm just going to get the last few bits out and try and get the rest of the corner posts. As you can see, they're quite big. I should probably turn those over because there's nails sticking out, and knowing me, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I was digging those out, trying to dig them out, and the flags were coming up before they were, so yeah, they're pretty... Dad, if you're watching this, you did a good job making this area. It's hard to destroy. Right, that's the paths done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig over the whole of these 2 beds. I'm going to start with this bed, get the last couple of edges out. I've got a lot of them now. Get the last couple of these edges out, and then start getting as much of the weed roots as I can. I think I might have to put this in place now. I'd rather it was sort of a bit more less movable, shall we say, on the plot, rather than leaving it, because I can't get that back through the door. Well, I can, but I've nowhere to store it in the greenhouse. So and I wouldn't want anyone to try and get into the greenhouse. So I'm going to try and get some soil put in it today. That does mean that I'm not going to have all 3 pieces to make sure they're equal, but to be honest, I think it will be fine as long as they are all in a row down here. That will be fine, and we can measure up accordingly. So yeah, and I've got the other 2 that I'm going to need for here. I've not got them with me today, but we do have them, so we can get this area done pretty quickly. I think filling them one at a time is going to be handy anyway, because obviously the level of the soil is above the flags, and even if I fill the paths in, it's still going to be above. So what I'm going to do, I've just put that there for an idea of where it's going, so you can see that there's going to be quite a wide path down that side, which is good because I get a lot of weeds growing up under the sleeper there, and obviously my perennial bed's got very weedy, and that will let me get access to that a little easier, because there is a stone path down there, but it's only thin, it's very slippy, and it's a bit wonky because it's old stone, so it's not very straight. It's nice and I don't want to get rid of it, but I want more access to be able to keep it weeded, because yeah, it's not I've not been keeping it weeded, as you can see. So I'm going to mark out where this is going to be roughly, and then I'm going to dig the soil into a pile in the middle, and then pop the bed on and hopefully be able to to set it in. I do want the paths to stay quite deep actually, because I'd like to put a lot of wood chip on to try and keep the soil down. Obviously I haven't weeded that bed yet. And this bed's got some leaf litter in it and bits I'm going to pick out before I carry on. I'm just seeing some more root there. So, but that's the idea of where it's going to be. And as I dig the soil into it, that's as I'm going to go through and just double check that I've got as much of the root out as possible. There's lots of very fine fibrous roots in there. And I'm just going to hope that things don't regrow from that. But again, this isn't about getting rid of weeds altogether. We don't want to do that. We can't do that. We don't want to do it. So it's just about minimising, because as you can see, there was some serious weeds in there, some serious roots. So it's no wonder it was a constant battle, really. So I've just come over here to show you where I got to yesterday, and look what I found on the floor. It was very windy last night, and I suppose I have taken the edges off this bed, so I'm a bit gutted, to be honest. I mean, it's probably more convenient now because I can get this whole area done, but that is definitely not what I was hoping for. I'm not going to bother try and put this back up. I am just going to take them out. I'll see if there's anything I can salvage and harvest from there, but to be honest, these are Greek gigantes and they're immature and they're not going to taste nice. What a pain. Anyway, it's fine. So this is where I got to yesterday anyway. I'd managed to fill this bed up with some soil. It needs a good sweep. It was very wet yesterday. I thought I'd leave it to dry out because I knew we were forecast some sunshine today. So I'm going to try and get some more of this done, but I'm wearing my best trainers for some stupid reason, so I'm glad it's dry. They'll wash, won't they? They'll wash. So I'm going to carry on weeding. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weed this bed. I haven't got any more of the beds built up. I have decided though that I'm going to partially build them at home. So build them into 2 halves, and then I can put them in the car and bring them up. And then I'm not spending like half an hour per bed building them at the allotment when I've not got much time. I can do that on a night at home when I've more time. So I'm going to get my spade and I'm going to start. Well, I might as well remove those first, hadn't I? I'll get those up, get them out of the way, and then we'll carry on with the weeding. Definitely gutted about that though. It's warm and the sun is baking the beds already, so it's hard to get the weeds up, harder than it was yesterday. And yes, and I haven't tied my hair up, which is really annoying me because it's all over the place. This is why I never garden with my hair down. So I'm sorry if it's annoying you, constant footage of me going, because yeah, it's annoying me too, trust me. But yeah, luckily the runner bean bed doesn't have a lot of weeds in it because I kept that reasonably weed free with having the runner beans in. I am gutted about those beans, such a shame, but luckily I have more. It's showing you that. Is it showing you that? Yeah, there you go. Back to me, camera, back to me. So yeah, let's get on. It is warm. I've got a feeling we're going to have some volunteer garlic next year. Never pull a few items of something up and think you've had a terrible harvest. Because I have found so many decent bulbs of garlic that just start to rot. I mean, they're not edible now. Well, they wouldn't be nice anyway. So yeah, always check, because there's quite a lot there that I would have got. Does make me feel better though. It makes me feel like something else has been a success, even if I didn't actually eat any of it. I've got the majority of the weeds and the weed roots out now. It's not actually that bad in there. The first bed was the worst one really. And yeah, so I might just dig it over again. So much for no dig, eh? Dig it over again, level it out a little bit, and then to be honest, I'm gonna go home because it's too warm. It is very warm, so I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna come and do some harvesting. It's very warm, so I'm gonna take a break in the polytunnel. Doesn't make any sense, does it? And then when I've harvested what I can, I'm gonna show you around and I'm gonna tell you what our plans are for the autumn and winter jobs this year. Look at me being all fancy with my harvesting cardboard box. Gutted. Right then, so let's talk about what we were going to do. Now, yesterday I found a seller on Facebook Marketplace selling palette colours, and I got very excited about these palette colours. And we were going to pick them up tomorrow, actually. However, I then built up this raised bed that I'd bought and kind of fell in love with it a little bit. If you can fall in love with a piece of galvanised metal, but I did. And I would love to have this whole area, you know, with those beds. Now, I was speaking to my husband Mark, who reminded me that Christmas is coming and that if I wrote a nice letter to Santa Claus and was a good girl, that I might get some raised beds for Christmas, but maybe early. And that my birthday is the month after. So if I want to kit this whole area out in those metal raised beds, then that's something we could do. Now that's £300. I'm going to need 9. What I've worked out is that that's what we'd need. 9 for this area. And I already have 1 spare because I bought 4 for the area I've been working on today and I can really only fit 3. So yeah, so I need to buy 8, which is just over £300. That's a lot of money. But you know what? My dad's had this plot for 20 years. I'm hoping I've got it a long time as well. And I think it's worth the investment. You know, this is that thing I've got for me that is mine, away from being a carer, away from being a parent. I mean, the kids are included in this, but this is the one thing that I have in my life that's for me to do, you know? I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but if any of you out there have been or are carers for your children and understand the life that I have and I'm going to have, then it's really it's just a beneficial place, and I think it's worth the investment. So the reason we're going to need 9 for this area and not 10, because we could actually fit, the way we could do it, I don't think you can see from this angle, I'm just walking around and pointing you at things. So there's 4 beds here and they each measure 150 centimetres. The paths are 45. That end bed though is 2.5 metres roughly. So what that means is that we've got just over 8 metres here of length. So with the path here and a border, we can then have 2 down here lengthways, 2 starting about here, 2, and then we could fit 2 at the end as well. So basically 5 rows of 2. However, if we go down this path, so I can show you what I mean. Sorry for the shaky camera work. There's brambles grow up at the side of the shed there. So my plan is not to have a bed in this area here. And we're going to be using wood chip between the paths and to just create a wood chip patio basically. And can you have a wood chip patio? And I've got a little table and chairs, a little metal bistro set at home that I'm going to bring here when I find something to replace it with at home. And I think if we get the shed painted, we get our little picket fence up running down the boundary here, and I create a nice little seating area there, I think that would be a really nice little spot. Do you? Then I can access the side of the shed to paint it and to keep the brambles down. So I think that might work. Again, I want your thoughts on all this, so let me know what you think. I know we're going to reduce the growing space. I know we are. But, you know, we're also creating a kind of organised space for me. You see, like my children, I am also neurodivergent, and my brain doesn't always work in the way that I would like it to do. And so compartmentalising things and having things divided up really helps me to feel less overwhelmed. And when we get things like weedy paths, where they're not easy to weed, weeding beds, despite what it might look like, I don't find too difficult. But weeding paths between flags and raised beds is difficult, so the wood chip should help that. The bigger paths should mean that I can always access everything. I probably won't grow calendula in the paths next time. So yeah, does any of that make sense? Let me know what you think in the comments anyway. But yeah, it is so warm today. Let's get back on with some work. Right, I've done as much as I can get done today. It's time for me to go home. So I just wanted to show you what I've done. So there's a lot of leaf litter about, and it still needs to go through. I've missed a few bits when I've been sweeping. Garlic for days. And obviously, along this path here, which you can now see, there is a lot of creeping buttercup still, so that's going to have to be worked on again. There will be some around the edges as well, because there was lots coming up through the timber. There'll still be bits of rotten wood to get up as well as part of the pile. We still need to shift. Runner beans are just over there on the ground. You know, there's a lot to do still, but it feels considerably less overwhelming now. I've hacked at the rose a bit. Now, that rose is a lovely rose, but I'm really thinking that it might be a bit thuggish for me on the allotment, so I don't know. Maybe we'll take it out. My dad's already removed it before, so whether it'll want to come out or not, I don't know. But I might get some different roses for along here, because I do love roses. I think they're probably my favourite plant, to be honest. Favourite flowering plant. Anyway, so yes, I'm going to build the remaining 2 beds up for this area this weekend at home at some point. I've got lots to do in the home garden, so there may be a home garden video coming to you soon. There's some work to do, some things in the garden that haven't worked this year, and so we're rethinking, not the layout, just the planting. So yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for being with me today. I think I'm the same colour as my t-shirt now. It's so warm. I'm so tired, so it's time to go home. So thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if it's your first time here. Please say hi in the comments, leave me a like, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.